Here we continue to learn to use Microsoft Excel, the online version, and please remember that I may try to show you some things that I'm used to doing in the desktop version that I may find out that I cannot do in the online version, so just be aware of that. So we're down here and we're using the same file that we used for the last activity, and you would want to come down here and click on this worksheet tab for Excel Activity 2, and it's going to take you here, and I'm going to click on my home tab so you can see all of the buttons that we've worked with so far, or at least a few of the buttons we've worked with so far. And I want to show you some of the additional features of this. And again, please remember this file was originally intended to be done on the desktop version, and you certainly could open this on the desktop version if you have Windows or a Mac computer, but I am showing the online version. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, down here in yellow, I give you some instructions of how to format cells D6 through D10 as a percentage to 0 decimals. So what you have to do is to select cells D6 through D10. And again, remember, when I say select, you need to make sure that your mouse, you move your mouse so that the arrow is in the middle of the cell so that you can click, hold, and drag to select these cells. And then the next thing you do is come up here under your number group and you can click this percentage button, and it will change those percentages. And now in my case it automatically rounded it to 2 decimals, which I was going to tell you to come up here and click your increase decimal button one time for each decimal place that you wanted displayed. Now again, I wasn't expecting this to happen, so if it does happen for you, great. If not, you may need to hit the increase decimal button to get this to show 2 decimal places. So I wanted you to do that. And the next thing I wanted you to do is to format numbers E6 to I10 as a number format with 0 decimals and a comma separator. So what you need to do is to select these cells right here with your mouse, and again, you got to put the tip of your arrow in the middle of the cell that you're wanting to select. So then you would hold and drag your mouse to select these cells, and then you could come up here again under the number group, and there's a couple different ways you could do this, but you want to select because I told you here as a number, you could select the number style, and here are all these different ways that you could format text that's in a cell, and I want you to select number, and by default when you do that, it changes it, and it does put decimals in here. Now all of these numbers are just even numbers, so the decimals are not required. So here in this case you would hit the decrease decimal button 2 times, and then it kind of looks like the next thing you would want to do is to come over here and click this comma style button, because really what the comma style is the number format without the commas, or with the commas I should say. So we're just going to click on this, and again you notice in this case, because I essentially applied a different style to it, it went back and it put those decimals back in. So now I want to take it out, and now you see that these numbers are what they would call comma style with no decimals. So then the next thing that I would want to show you is a really neat feature that is called the Fill Series feature. And this is a feature that is in Excel that will detect for example, if it's a series of information where you can start the series and then you can continue to use this fill handle that you see right here to click, hold, and drag. So just for example, this I typed year 1 in here. So if you take your mouse and move it so that your arrow is on top of this little fill handle on the lower right corner, and then you're going to see that that becomes a cross. If you click, hold, and drag that cross through this cell right here, you'll notice how this changes to year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. And this is a big time time saver if it's something that has a logical sequence to it. Now, while these are still selected, let's go ahead up here under the alignment group and click the Align Center button. And it'll take that text and align it in the center. But while we're talking about the Fill Series feature, let me show you some other things that you can do with Fill Series. And I'm going to just come out here and I'm going to click down here. So for example, maybe you wanted to type the days of the week. You could start with Sunday. And then you could drag across. And notice how it automatically puts in Monday, Tuesday, and the rest of the days of the week. And it actually started over with Sunday again because I drug it out. It would also work for the months. If you typed in January. And by the way, this also works if you use this fill handle to drag down. And I'm not going to drag all the way down because I think you get the point. Now, let's say if you wanted to do something like the number 1 and then you wanted to go to 2, 3, 4. Now, here's the trick though. You have to sometimes set the series first. And this is what I mean. If I just type in the number 1, you would probably think that if I were to drag this out, that it's going to go to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. But look what happens. Notice how I get a bunch of 1s here. Because really, just typing the number 1 into a cell isn't quite enough information for Excel to know what to do. So what if I were to come over here and leave this cell as 1? And I don't have to do this, but I'm going to. I want to delete the content of these cells. And I want to change this 1. I want to change that to a 2. And now what I can do is select both of these cells. And now I can use the fill handle to drag out. And then it will continue that series. And then what if you wanted to do something else, like for example, if you wanted to create a list of cities that hosted the Olympics. Now, typically the Summer Olympics typically are held every 4 years, and because of the situation that we are currently in, we did not have the 2020 Olympics. So let's just go back to the 2016 Olympics. And then before that, the last Olympics were in 2012. So what you're doing here is you're setting two numbers that are 4 years apart. So then you could select these cells now, and then grab this fill handle with the cross and drag down, and then you'll see that these numbers are indeed in 4-year increments. And I'm old enough, I can remember, I believe, where all of these Olympics were held. To see 2016, I believe they were in Rio. In 2012, they were in London. 2008, Beijing. 2004, I think, was Athens, Greece. 2000, Sydney, Australia. 96, Atlanta, Georgia, here in the United States. 92 was in Barcelona, Spain. 88, I believe, was Seoul, South Korea. 84 was in Los Angeles, and 1980 was in Moscow. And I could even go down one more and tell you that 76 was in Montreal and 72 was in Munich, Germany. And that's about as far as I can remember. But that's not the point. So anyway, you see how you could set a series with these cells, and this is just such a great feature that saves a lot of time. Now, to this particular activity, we'd want to do a few other things. What I would want you to do is to double click on this right border of column A to do an auto fit of the text so that it will fit in the longest text will become the width of this column. And try it again, and it may not be working because of how I originally set this file up. Again, you got to remember this was intended to be on a desktop, and everything's not going to be, it's not going to work exactly the way I want. But I can do something else here. I could select the cell A1, and I could come through I1, and I want to click this merge and center button. And in my case, I have to click it 2 times. and that's okay. And then you could come up under the cell styles under the tables menu, and you can select, you want to change this maybe to a title style, and you see how the title style automatically changes the appearance of this text. And that is all we really need to do for this particular activity. So you learned a couple of good skills here. So now it's time to move on to the next activity, number 3.